Okay, so I am just wanting to put together a super easy Pixinsight processing workflow for an astrophoto of IC443, the jellyfish nebula, that I shot just a week or so ago. I want to make this super simple. I'm mostly going to use almost exclusively default settings for the Pixinsight processes in this video. I've changed a few things in some of the processes based on other tutorials that I've watched here on YouTube. But if you want to, you can just copy and paste the same settings I have without even going into much depth or detail on why or how you should change the values. But if you do want to go into depth and learn all about it, there's great channels all over YouTube. Visible Dark has an awesome channel with a ton of awesome information of all kinds of Pixinsight processes. So I'm also going to use plugins and scripts. Some of them are paid for, a lot of them are free, and there's tons more that I'm going to use. Again, this is trying to be a really simple tutorial just to kind of get people interested and maybe get their thoughts flowing on what to do and how to use Pixinsight. I do have to say Pixinsight and its contributors are really, they're amazing. They do a fantastic job. Pixinsight is an awesome platform. All right, so let's get going on the jellyfish. So just for fun, I wanted to pull up a frame here of the jellyfish, just one single subframe from the other night. This is 300 seconds long, and that's it. Just kind of an auto stretch. You'd learn if you know what Pixinsight shortcut. So that's all there is. That's just a bunch of stars. That's what we have to start with one single subframe. We're going to be stacking 42 frames, so obviously we get a lot more detail and everything going. But this is kind of where we're starting with, and then let's open kind of a more finished product here. This is where we're going to end up, I hope, by the end of this video. So, obviously bringing out all kinds of color and detail that wasn't there through all these little processes that we're going to do. And hopefully, I expect can do this in hopefully well under half an hour, especially if I speed a couple computer processing intensive sections of the workflow. So I also will admit that the finished product here is not actually finished yet. I'll go down and I'll use Topaz AI plugins to get more detail and smoothness out of the picture, and then I'll actually go into Photoshop and tweak it even more in there before I'm actually really done with it. So I'll be posting more videos going forward of those processes as well, but I kind of wanted to get a simple pre-processing video up and see if anybody gets anything out of it. So we'll close these down, and we want to make sure first that we've got our images in a folder, also called a directory. I labeled it IC443, which is the catalog number for the jellyfish. This blinked folder is actually all my light folders, all my light frames. Blink is a process of kind of weeding out bad frames and just keeping the good ones, which I can make another short video on too at some point. But I ended up with 42 frames, 5 minutes long, that I wanted to use. And then I used dark flats. I always take 40 flat frames and 40 dark flat frames, pretty standard. And then darks, I have a dark library that I've built. So I just chose 42 of those frames to match the number of blinked or light frames that I'm going to use. And then here we have a pre-processing folder that's empty, because that is where a bunch of files are going to be created by Pixinsight as we do this very first process. So let's open up Pixinsight, and then one of the first things that I always want to do, often forget, is go down and load my processing icons. I have them saved, and they just kind of serve as a way to keep me focused on what I'm doing. And number one, just kind of a nice workflow. Keeps me organized. A lot of them are shortcuts. Some of them aren't shortcuts. They're more of just reminders of what I need to do. This, I'm going to show you cosmetic correction, because once I open up the first process, we won't be able to see it anymore. This is one of the processes that I watch tutorials on to get some settings changed from the default. First thing I select is CFA. Again, this tutorial is not going to be in depth. I'll probably get more in depth in other videos to explain more of these things, but there's plenty of videos online to help understand all those real specifics of these settings. So clicking CFA is not default, so I did that first. Use Master Dark is not, I don't use that. The only other selections I do here is using auto detect, and I click hot sigma, cold sigma, and I change the values from 3 to 5. And again, I did that a long time ago, following a tutorial by Light Vortex Astronomy. He has a very in-depth, detailed tutorial. It's written instead of video on all these settings that we're going to go through for what's called weighted batch pre-processing, which is now really automated. Before, when I started using Pixinsight, we had to do all these processes by hand, and it took a long time. I mean, it took probably 45 minutes to an hour for me to do them all by hand, and now it's kind of automated, which is really cool. But it does use an input from this cosmetic correction icon that I have set up. So we'll go in here, go to Script, Batch Preprocessing, Weighted Batch Preprocessing, and it's going to load that up. Take just a minute here. Okay, and then just to show kind of that I am going to try to use all factory settings, I'm going to say reset all the parameters to the defaults. I'm going to clear all the files out so there's nothing in here. You can look here, bias, no bias, darks, flats, lights, nothing. The easiest way, if you have photos that have fits information imprinted in them from when you take them, especially if using an astrophotography dedicated camera, you can just go to load a directory, and I'm just going to click on the IC443 directory, and it's going to load all the frames and put them right where they're supposed to be. So all the dark frames have now been loaded, all the flat frames have been loaded. The dark flats are also in here, the 40 frames at 3 seconds. All my light frames are here. Again, this process, it can recognize through the fits keywords that which pictures need to go where, and how to use them. So then we go here to calibration. All these settings are just default. They work great for me. So go here to calibration, and I always like to make sure CFA is checked, and I'll apply that to all of the flat frames. And I do the same thing with the light frames. I leave everything. I do select for cosmetic correction, which is a process that basically reduces cosmetic issues in your photos, which a lot of times is satellite trails. Kind of ruin a lot of pictures, but this process actually helps get rid of those, and you can end up keeping photos that would otherwise be ruined by those satellite trails. So that's where this cosmetic correction icon comes from. All the settings are just automatically brought in there then. Make sure that's checked, but it is by default. Auto, debayer, VNG, that's perfect for my camera, and I think the fits information there. So I apply this to all, and then I like to show the calibration diagram, which shows we're going to start with a single light, then we'll subtract the master dark that this process creates, then we'll subtract the master flat that it creates, and we'll end up with a calibrated light frame to stack and do quite a few other things with through this automated process. Down here, output directory, we want to make sure we go in and select our pre-process folder, and that's where a bunch of files are going to be generated. So then I hit diagnostics just to make sure everything looks okay. It does. Don't see any errors. Push OK. And hit run. Shows the diagnostics to me one more time. Click OK and let this run. Now it's going to go step by step. It's going to integrate dark frames, integrate dark flat frames. It's going to calibrate all the frames. It's going to integrate all these calibration frames with each other, and then it's going to calibrate the light frames, apply that cosmetic correction, it's going to debayer the frames, and then it's going to start measuring quality of the pictures based on HFR, I believe. It's what Pixinsight uses, and it will reject frames that are bad, but I don't have that happen too often. And it does plate solving, so it knows where it's at, and it imprints, or whatever wording you want to use, an astrometric solution to the file, so that you can use that with different processes in Pixinsight going forward, which is really cool. A lot of this stuff's really new, I think released in the last year or so, so it's really nice, and I've still been learning it a little bit. Then registration, that's just aligning all the stars. That's the wording that Pixinsight uses for alignment of the stars. And then generates local normalization, reference frames. That helps, I think, with just the accuracy, stacking, and all that stuff. And it's kind of a computer-intensive process. Then, finally it'll integrate all the light frames, which means stack. So it's going to stack all the frames once all the processes have been applied. And then this last bit, this auto crop here, it looks at every frame and how they're stacked, and basically crops out the very least it can to give you crisp edges in the final photo, which you don't have to do. You could always use a process down here like dynamic crop. Sometimes I like to do that, but it's just fun to do all the integration processes here automated. So from here it's going to take a little bit longer, usually 10 to 15 minutes. So I will kind of stop talking, and we will fast forward to the end of this process. Okay, and there we have it. So we did this weighted batch pre-processing workflow in 12 minutes and 26 seconds. Pretty darn fast compared to the half an hour to an hour that it used to take me. Excuse me. We'll say done there, and we will exit out of that. And we're going to go open up our folder, pre-processing folder, the masters folder, and I'm going to select the master light that's been auto-cropped here for us. Open that up and expand it here a little bit, and we'll do an auto stretch. See what it looks like. Oh, it looks terrible. What a surprise. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is go down here and extract the background. That nasty green background is terrible. This is one of the processes that I have changed the default settings based on a video, a tutorial by Visible Dark. Again, I won't go into all the details of it because I actually don't really fully understand it, and the tutorial is fantastic. He does a great job. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. We're going to start the correction of subtraction. I do like to drag a little instance down here that just copies all of this. And basically what we have going on here is every one of these little boxes is going to look at the contents and try to decipher what's background and what is stars. And it's going to try to extract that background and kind of make the stars white and the background black, and adjust all the colors throughout the frame to get that out of there. Does a great job. So again, we'll start with subtraction, hit that. And the reason I have it around the edges is because I don't want it taking out, nebula color. I just want it to take out the background, so I don't want to hit the nebula if I can help avoid that. So, okay, so we got some background taken out. Now, all of a sudden, we can see some of the jellyfish nebula. Now, open that up again, go from subtraction to division, and just check that. And it doesn't do much, but it does a little bit. Close out of this, yes. Turn off our auto stretch, turn it back on. I'm going to delete that icon because I like to keep things clean. And there we have our first glimpse at the image. The next thing that we want to do is run the autocolor script, and that's up here, scripts, utilities. This doesn't come standard with Pixinsight, but it's free, and there's lots of videos on how you can get this into your repository and start using it really quickly and easily. All you do, click on it, runs on its own. And what it's going to do, look at the image and compare what it sees as stars to the background, and try to make the stars on average white and the background on average black. And it does a pretty good job at doing that. And we have more accurate coloring throughout our frame. So we'll wait here for just a minute, and it's done. So things are starting to look a little better. Stars are less green. You can see more and more of the nebula popping out. The next thing we're going to do is spectrophotometric color calibration. Again, this is going to be another one of the standard processes in Pixinsight now, but I did watch a tutorial to decide on what settings I wanted to use. You can look at these settings and copy them. I think they're pretty close to default, but again, you can look up a quick tutorial. Visible dark again has a great one. So I'm just going to apply this. What this is going to do is actually look at the astrometric solution, so it knows exactly what each one of these stars are. It knows exactly which star it is. It's going to compare it to its catalog, and it's actually going to color the star correctly, so the star has true color, what it actually looks like in the night sky, what true wavelengths it emits, so that we don't have any weird false color stuff going on there. So again, turn off the stretch, turn back on the stretch, see what it looks like. Looking even better. The color is getting better and better as we go here. The next thing we're going to do that makes a big difference is open up the Blur Exterminator plugin. This is a paid one by RC Astro. Super worth it in my opinion. The Blur Exterminator process ends up being a lot like deconvolution. So it's going to correct for scene conditions, optical issues, things like that, and kind of reshape the stars, tighten them up, give a lot more detail, and it makes a big difference in your image. I used to struggle with deconvolution to make things really good, bring back the clarity and definition that it was supposed to have, and it's a long, painful process. This automates it, makes it super quick. It does cost money, but it's well worth looking into. Again, these are just the standard default settings. Work great for me. So we're going to apply that to our picture. One thing I will say, I do run an NVIDIA GPU, and I have Pixinsight set up to use the GPU for a lot of these really intensive processes. So some processes like this that can use the CUDA cores for neural network AI speed the process up. Just it's hard to even describe how dramatically the processes speed up. So that process can take a really long time if you don't have a NVIDIA GPU with the CUDA cores enabled. And there's a tutorial by Dark Archon that shows you how to set that up if you haven't got that set up yet. But yeah, just so you know, my computer, the processing of some of these processes is extremely fast because of that NVIDIA GPU. I'm going to change this identifier over here just to jellyfish because I don't like that huge long description. Okay, so as you can see, the stars are nice and tight, a lot more definition than they had before. They look really good. I love that process. So next one I use is also by RC Astro, Noise Exterminator. Works great, default settings, just apply it to the picture. This one's really quick, but it certainly adds to the quality of the photo. Okay, there we go. Now, most of our work in the linear phase is complete. Again, linear, if you don't have an auto stretch on, that's all you see. That's what your picture is until we stretch it, which we can do using the histogram transformation. We can move make adjustments here. Here's a preview to, bring out information. Whoa, too much, So anyway, you can mess with this, do it by hand if you want to. I don't like to do that, and especially not for this tutorial that I'm trying to keep really simple. I use another script that's free, the Easy Processing Suite. Well worth getting into Pixinsight. Again, there are other tutorials to show you how to do that. I might make some in the future too. But I'm going to do an easy soft stretch, which is going to make that histogram transformation for me. Just trying to kind of using its own presets to see what it feels the histogram should look like to bring out the most detail without too much noise and things like that. So I'm going to run that, and boom. Now I have my stretched image. So we actually have a color image. We don't, we're not auto stretching it, faking it anymore. This is the real stretched image, and it's starting to look really good already. Quite a bit of detail on this one. I'm really happy with this photo. The next thing I like to do, a lot of times the stars are just overwhelming to me. I'd rather focus on the nebula. And so another script in that Easy Processing Suite is Easy Star Reduction. First, we need to create a star mask for this process. Again, sometimes, if you don't have an NVIDIA GPU set up correctly for Pixinsight, this can take a long time, but mine goes really fast, which is super nice. It just really increases the capabilities of your processing and how fast you can do things. There's two different kinds of methods you can use to reduce these. Adam Block's de-emphasis method's great. I actually watched a full tutorial on how he did that himself, but now they have it in this processing suite, which is good. His is a little less intense than I like, because I just really like to get those stars smaller because they kind of bother me. So I'm going to try the morphological selection and move the iterations all the way up to 10, and I'm going to run it. And it should go pretty quick. There we go. Done. And our stars are much smaller, still beautiful. Definitely worth keeping and having in the frame, because they really do add to it and keep it realistic. Looks really, really nice. The next thing, though, that I am going to do, I believe, I'm going to get rid of the stars so that I can work just on the nebula. And this uses the process StarNet. I'm going to create a star mask, which basically what this is going to do is just, again, using neural networking AI and the StarNet process. It's going to figure out what are stars, what aren't stars. It's going to pull them out, and I'll have a starless image and a star image. So here are my stars for my image over here. And here is my starless image. And what's nice about this is it allows us to work just on the nebula if we want to, without affecting stars, blowing them out, changing their colors, doing all kinds of different things. So I'm going to set that up there for now. But you can already see we have some nice detail coming out throughout the frame. But we are going to work on that a little bit next. So we're going to open up Curves Transformation and start messing with the curves, really getting some things popping here if we can. So first, just kind of make a nice, as they say, S-curve with our curves here. Bring down the darks. Just this basically increases the I'm losing the word anyway. Contrast. It just increases the contrast. So we're going to apply that. Reset it. I think we'll take some saturation, boost the saturation a little bit. You don't want to overdo it. It's really easy to kind of make these look crazy, but I like that. Reset it. The C here is vibrance. We can boost that up a little bit. I like it. The red, I don't know, almost too red to me, but it's okay. We'll do that for now. And I'm going to reset that. I'm just going to bring the red down just a touch. I really don't like green, but I don't want things to be too crazy looking either. So we'll take that and apply it. And yeah, I really like the way that's starting to look. Another quick thing I like to do here is another process, or another script actually, in the utilities that just comes with Pixinsight now is this dark structure enhance. This just, it looks for the dark structures in the nebula, and it just kind of does a nice classy, enhancement of those dark structures, increases the contrast again, and it kind of makes the picture look pretty cool, I think. So anyway, that's starting to look pretty nice. The next thing I want to do is I really like to add a little extra blue to my frames, depending on what object it is, and in this one in particular, I like that idea. And so I'm just going to go up here and split the channels. This splits the red, green, and blue out. I'm going to close the green and close the red because I don't really care about them. Then I'm going to look at the blue and open up my histogram transformation, open up a preview, and I'm just going to clip it because I really just want a few places. I really want this section of the jellyfish to have some blue in it. I want the back section to have a little blue in it. I don't want too much. Obviously these stars are going to be part of it. I'm just creating a mask right now. So what's white is going to be affected, what's black is going to be hidden. So I'm going to create that mask, close it. I'm going to go over here and apply it to the frame. My little mask over here. Turn off my mask because I don't want to see it. And curves transformation, open up a preview, click on the blue because that's what I want to see, and boost the blue a lot. That's okay because I like it. And then take this channel here, and I get a little confused which way I want to go first. That's the way I want to go. I want to make the blue hues a lot nicer and brighter. I like bright blue. I don't like the dark blue. Purple. I have a lot of purple colors, a lot of purple pictures, but I'd rather have some blue here if I can. So we'll just kind of readjust that. I think that's good enough. Hopefully I don't blow it out. Alright, close that. Look at this again. That looks pretty nice if I zoom in. I like the blue. Star turned blue, but I actually like that. Looks pretty cool to me. Okay, so there we have it. We enhanced some different parts of the image. Go ahead and take the mask off by clicking that X button up there. And I'll open up curves one more time. Open up preview, boost the saturation just a tiny bit. And honestly, I really like it. That's about all I need to do to this photo, I think. And then to get our stars back in, we're just going to go into Pixel Math here and use a single expression editor. And it's so simple. I love Pixinsight, Pixel Math. It's just the most fantastic thing that you can, one of the most fantastic, simple processes that they have. So you literally just click on my jellyfish picture here, and then you say plus my star mask, which is my stars that the process took out. Say OK, and then open up this. I'm just actually going to replace the image. You could create a new one if you wanted to save the starless image, but yeah, I'm just going to replace it. So click that, apply out, and boom, stars are back, and it looks pretty darn good to me. Okay, I think I had a bit of a headphone issue there. I think it kind of died on me, but hopefully I'm back, and hopefully I can figure out how to edit that out so it doesn't look too ridiculous. I wanted to blow this up really big so we can have a nice look at it, kind of our quote-unquote finished product. Pretty beautiful, pretty amazing that we can get this from what we started with. Details pretty good in that jellyfish. I like that. I like the colors. Yeah, this is a good start to this image. Of course, the next thing that I would be doing with this image, just go. I would save it, and then first you can go ahead save as, pop into your main directory, jellyfish, pre or processed is what I'll call it, processed, and it saves as Pixinsight's proprietary XISF format, 32-bit, which is good because it saves all the data in here. And then I also would go in and save it as a TIFF, and change this to 16-bit so that we can work with it easily in Photoshop and some other plugins. It says there's insufficient data storage, but it always ends up working really well. But anyway, I would take this photo, and I'd go into Topaz AI and run it through there to get some more detail and smoothness out of it. And then I would go into Photoshop and tweak it a little bit more until I really liked it, and that's about it. I'll probably do some more videos on those processes and more in-depth details on some other processes in the future. But I wanted to get a full processing video out there that's just, I think, really simple, super easy, hopefully to follow. Again, using as many default scripts and plugins as I can so that there's just not too much convolution, complication, because it's not really needed to get a beautiful picture like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and hope you subscribe if you want to see more of it. I also have my little shorts. I animate these photos, so I'll be animating this photo using After Effects as well. So I'll probably do a video on that as well. But anyway, again, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.